So we are 6 episodes deep, and it seems like almost everybody got an excuse to let loose. What's your locomotive? So let's just go ahead and start off with these rat lifts. So let's start at the top of the tree. Tim has gone through probably the most transformative situation while he was in Thailand. That man hadn't gotten any spa treatment, but he better live it up while he's there, because the story that lawyer told him that his whole world was about to crumble down, he needs just a little something before he leaves, because those accounts are about to be frozen and he won't be able to afford a pack of gum after that trip is over. Now, I did see on the preview for episode 6 that he had blood on his shirt. Now, I believe that this is probably yet another dream that he's having, because I really don't see him taking out himself or Victoria. I feel like he could become a monk over there with Piper, or he could just disappear like Rick's dad. Another thing that I saw in that preview was that Saxon was going off on Tim. He was like, his value is pretty much wrapped into work and stuff like that. He needs an identity. So something makes me wonder if Saxon is going to go and try to get his phone back from Pam real quick, and then get all this information about the office, about the clothes, and how the FBI has raided the place and all of that kind of stuff, and then he confronts his dad about it. Now, I doubt that would happen, but that could be a possibility, that either Saxon or another family member finds out about this information. Now, some people think that Victoria done ratted Tim out and made a deal so she gets to keep the house. I don't know if that's the case, because I haven't seen anything that was presented in the show that would make me think that way about her. One of the things that kind of makes me look at her differently, though, is the fact that she has pretended like she doesn't know he took her pills. She has everyone but him, and she recognizes that he's acting weird. So I'm trying to figure out why she's pretending like she can't put 2 and 2 together. See, on one hand, she's playing dumb. On the other hand, she's like, I'm not built for this impoverished life. Listen, I'm not a survivor, I'm just gonna give up. So I don't really know where to place her. But when you get to those kids, that's a whole heap of drama right there. That's a whole heap of trouble. Since episode 1, we already knew something was up with these siblings. I just thought that Piper and Lachlan were actually boyfriend and girlfriend when I first saw them on the boat. And then when they got to the resort and they finally said that they were brother and sister, I was like, oh, okay, never mind. So my guard was a little bit down, but then my senses started tingling again, because some of the stuff they were saying in that first episode, I was like, I don't know. There's something off here. So let's talk about Piper first. Now, it's not much to really talk about with her. I feel like there's an immense amount of privilege that she carries with her, because I don't know that many people that can say, you know what, after I graduate from college, I'm going to forego going into the workforce, and I'm just going to take a trip and go over to Thailand and study under a Buddhist monk for free. Like, I can't relate to that, because I've been working since I was 12. I was cutting grass and doing yard work, and I hated most of it, but I wanted and needed money, so I had to do what I had to do. But the thing about Piper is she gets to be in this position where she can repudiate the things that her family has worked hard for and the things that they value, that put her in that position to be able to take off for a year and do whatever it is she wants, because she's never had to work from the bottom. I wonder if Victoria's plan to make her stay the night with the monks is going to work, because Victoria's trying to make her afraid of being poor. Now, she'll probably make it through because she has Lachlan there, and Lachlan is her security blanket, and that's according to the post-show conversation that the people that play the Ratliff siblings were having, which to me lets me know that Piper shouldn't be over there staying by herself, because if you need a security blanket to be somewhere, then you probably shouldn't be in that place, because you got to be able to stand up on your own in those areas. So let's move over to Saxon. So since the beginning, he was probably one of the characters that everybody was supposed to just not like. And for most of the season, that actually turned out to be true. But after episode 6, you actually have some people feeling sorry for Saxon. They feel like what happened to him was wrong. They feel like it was SA, because he didn't want what happened. And if we wanted to take this conversation even deeper, we can talk about sobriety and consent. You're actually supposed to give and receive consent before you go down this path of drinking and party favors and all that other kind of stuff. And that tends to be unsexy to people. And I've been on the end of that being unsexy part, because I will ask you a question real quick, because I don't want nobody's confusion. Folks really be wanting you to go with the vibe. What did T-Pain say? Let's get drunk, forget what we did. That sounds like a setup to me, though. And I would like to think that siblings are supposed to be off limits, but clearly people need to be told that. I was having a conversation with a guy here in Atlanta, and he told me that he was into incest, and I had no clue how to respond to that. When I tell you people have different things rattling around in that head of theirs, oh, it's wild out here. So you just can't assume that everything's going to be like you think it's supposed to be. Now, what I will say is, I don't think the show is heading in the direction of SA for a number of reasons. Normally, when that kind of controversial content shows on TV, they have a blurb that says trigger warning or some type of hotline that you can call. Another reason I don't think the story is heading in that direction is because in the post show where the Ratliff siblings were having that conversation, the guy that plays Lachlan was like, he's trying to please his brother. He thinks that's what his brother wants. And I think that's the route that they're trying to take. Because if you pay attention to how they've been positioning Lachlan this entire time, he's a person who's not firm in who he is, and he's being pushed between two different siblings who one is trying to tell him, don't want everything in the world, need to have some discipline, be a better person. The other one is saying, go for whatever you want, take things. And even when you start looking at the fact that he went in there to talk to that posture specialist, and the guy was reading him like a book, and it made him so uncomfortable because he started telling him things about himself based on his posture alone. So that's why I think they're not trying to position it in that way. And even if you listen to Schwarzenegger, the guy that plays Saxon's character, he was saying that Saxon is more disgusted with himself. And if we really want to have a good conversation about Saxon, we got to start from the beginning. Because since the beginning, he was wildly inappropriate with his siblings. At the beginning, Piper and Lachlan were supposed to share a room together, and Saxon objected and said, nah, y'all got grown genitals. Y'all can't stay in the same room together. Then throughout the episode, was touching on himself in front of his brother. He assumed that Lachlan was fully straight, talked about his sister's experience in the bedroom, asked Lachlan what kind of adult content he was watching, was fully naked once he got out of the bed to go handle that business in the bathroom, noticed his brother was looking at him, didn't even address it, just closed the door. Listen, I love my brothers and my sisters, but I promise you, if any of them look at me like that while I'm walking to the bathroom, well, I wouldn't be walking naked. But like still, if any of them looked at me in that way, we would have a problem, and I would address it right there. But for some reason, Saxon did not. So let's talk about some of the stuff that Saxon told Lachlan that led up to that point on the boat. For starters, he told him happiness comes from getting the things you want. And Lachlan was like, so what do I want? And he was like, you want the girls. And while they were actually on that boat, Saxon was telling Lachlan, people want to be used. And you could hear Piper's conversations that she's been having with Lachlan streaming through him when he was talking to Saxon. He said, what if this life is a test for us to become better people? And Saxon was like, no. I was like, you really want your brother to be something terrible? And I've been saying it for a while. I was like, be careful what you're teaching your brother because it could come back on you in the wrong way. Like when they were on the beach for the full moon party and he said, let them get messy. We got to stay focused, which shows us what kind of MO he normally has. And you're teaching this to a 17, 18-year-old. But the monkey wrench in the game is when Chloe brought over the party favors. And we don't know what it was, but I'm assuming it's something like MDMA. And Saxon was against it at first, but then he succumbed to the peer pressure. And I was like, sir, you should have just stayed with your no. It's okay. You don't have to take everything that somebody else takes. So I know some people tried to say that Lachlan spit his out, but I don't see any actual proof that he did. I was trying to watch it, zoom in, trying to stay on pause. I didn't see him spit anything. It actually showed him swallow it in the scene previous to that. So unless he did a magic trick in his mouth, I'm pretty sure he swallowed that pill. Can we briefly touch on the fact that Saxon and Chloe are about the same person? First of all, they're both regular grown. And when I say regular grown, that means over 25, maybe even older than 30. Both of them have been pressuring Lachlan to participate in adult activity. He's supposed to be a high school student, right? Say, Chloe, I heard you like him young. She said everybody at the full moon party usually gets laid, so we should honor those traditions, right? And Saxon was coaching him up on how to get these grown women on the boat. And he was like, you take Chloe and I'm going to take Chelsea. Now, Chloe's already in a relationship with Gary, but she is so willing to cheat on him with both of these brothers, especially Lachlan. Meanwhile, Saxon been trying to get Chelsea to cheat on Rick this entire trip. And then they got back to the boat and Chelsea was getting emotional about the Rick situation. Like, I don't want to feel this way. And then Chloe was like, should we all just like do a foursome? Chelsea turned both Saxon and Chloe down. And I think Saxon might have met his match because Chloe was like, okay, me and you gonna kiss Chelsea, but then she was like, I'm gonna tell these brothers to kiss, which is wild to me. Like, what are you even on to suggest something like that? And they did it. Of course, Lachlan liked it a lot more, it seemed like. And the line was crossed, but also I think his wires were crossed because Saxon had been pushing him this whole time saying, hey, you gonna get these girls. And then all of a sudden, Chloe says, make out with your brother, which makes things less taboo now. So when they finally get in the bedroom and he's doing what his brother told him to do with the woman, he's also thinking that it's totally fine for him to go reach over and touch his brother like that. And Chloe didn't actually tell him to do that with Saxon. However, she did kind of co-sign it based on the previous scene. So they were all on the same drug. I'm not sure if anybody blacked out for real. For some reason, I think it's something like probably MDMA that they took. And if that's the case, Saxon probably felt really good while that was going on in the moment. And then he thought it was Chloe and then looked down and recognized it wasn't Chloe. And he was probably so shocked that it was his brother that he didn't like push his hand away because it did feel good. But he was also like, what is going on? And then by that time, he was already done. So Saxon woke up the next day and he truly remembered what happened. He just kept trying to blot it out and make it sound like it didn't happen. maybe it was a bad dream, but it wasn't because it kept playing in his head. So he's dealing with issues of disappointment and regret, and he's disgusted at himself because he's like, how did I let this happen? Because he's not the type of dude that probably thinks that men can be violated, which we definitely can, but he's not going to accept that. And he remembered a lot more than he tried to suggest, because he did get down to the pool and he remembered that Chelsea didn't hook up with him. And he was kind of salty about it. He was like, why won't you hook up with me? And she told him why. She was like, I got a whole boyfriend and you're not worthy. And the thing I love about Chelsea is valuable not only for Rick, even though I don't think Rick is good for her, I think she's really good for him. But she's also really good for Saxon because she's been humbling this man the entire trip. She sees right through him. And then when Chloe joined Saxon and Chelsea and told him what happened the night before and said, oh, I was not blacked out, I saw all of it. And that did something way worse to him mentally. So now he has to deal with the fact that it's not an isolated incident because his brother knows, Chloe and Chelsea know, and I'm going to be honest, that boat that Greg owns looks like it's big enough to have plenty of cameras all over it. So he might know as well. Side note, do y'all think that Greg got a little side hustle business where he like blackmails people? He was like, look, I caught you on my boat doing some hanky-panky with my girl. Wire me $100,000 or $1 million and I'll burn it. That would be crazy if he actually did that. I don't think that's what he's doing, but I'm trying to figure out how he got all this money. So now we got to deal with the aftermath of how Saxon is going to handle this situation. Because you saw he wasn't talking to Lachlan. Barely even wanted to look at the man. Now, I don't see him causing all the ruckus at the end of the show. I think what he could do is take out Lachlan in a quiet way. Lachlan is a people pleaser. And now that his memory is unlocked when he was at the Buddhist monk place, he's probably going to feel some kind of way and like try to make amends with his brother. So when he comes back to Saxon say, hey, I forgive you, just don't bring it up ever again. And he's going to be like, hey, let's get back on our smoothie game. Now, what they haven't brought up is that poisonous fruit at the beginning of episode 1. And he's been using that blender this whole time. So either he's going to take out his brother or he's going to take out himself. He would definitely take himself out too if he found out he was going to be poor. It just don't seem like that family is built for that. So let's talk about some quiet parts, because Mook hasn't really been in the last 2 episodes heavy. So I'm trying to figure out what her purpose is, because it can't just be Gaytuk's story. I feel like her storyline will probably pick up these next 2 episodes, because her story can't just be, oh, I'm Mook and I dance sometimes and I talk to Gaytuk. That's it. Ain't no way. Y'all gotta make her a criminal or something. Another quiet story is the robbers. That kind of went away. So I think they're using Mook and the robbers to build up Gaytuk's story, and even Pelek to a certain extent. Like everybody's trying to make him more aggressive. But for what though? I'm trying to figure out what's coming to them. And after watching all 6 episodes, I'm not really sure who's going to be involved in this shootout. Because most of them have a reason to get into it with somebody, but I don't see a reason why they would get in a shootout though. Now what I want to happen is Belinda call the police, because girl, Fabian was not going to call the police. And you said all the police he needed to call, you should have been calling them before you even got down there. And especially now that homeboy done popped up close to your villa. He done gave you the address and everything. Now you could just send the authorities right there. Now what I could see is Greg running from his house and then getting down to the hotel, and then the authorities are shooting at him. Or the robbers could come back and Gaytuk could be prepared, or so he thinks. But then he's going to end up dying. Him or Mook. See, that's how it usually happens. You in love like that? Oh, somebody got to go. Now the only other thing I can think of right now is potentially Rick actually killing Jim, and then when he kills Jim and he gets back to the hotel trying to pick up Chelsea ends up getting killed in the process because he's shooting at the security guards. Because ain't no way Rick gonna die. Because, he always makes bad choices, but it always gonna bite her in the butt. And she already said bad things come in 3s. I can definitely see that happening. She loves that man way too much. So I think I'm gonna leave it at that. What do y'all think? Let me know down in the comments. Please remember to hit that like button on your way out, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you'll know when I drop new content. Thank you for watching, and until next time, take care.